what my favorite is?
What?
Is whenever somebody starts a conversation with, I'm not racist, but, because you don't know.
You don't know how it's going to go?
You don't know what the ride you're in for. And earlier today, I had a very interesting conversation with somebody where they started with that. I'm not racist, but, and I just, like, I was automatically apprehensive. And then the next line out of this man's mouth was, Asians can't make good coffee. I don't know what to say about that. It's like, that's factually wrong, like 100%, but it's just a broad sweeping statement to have about something that's so, finite. And it seems like the kind of thing that's like, I guess it's a stereotype. You've made it into a stereotype by applying it to all Asians, but yeah. Weird.
Of all the things to pick, you could have mentioned anything. You could have mentioned the normal ones like driving or like they're really smart, good at math, stuff like that.
Sure.
Not very creative, but like coffee.
This guy has personal experience.
Yeah.
And like he's formed a worldview off personal experience with somebody based on their ability to brew coffee. Oh, and so this is the rest of it. So the reason this came up is that we're driving to a place. I want to pull over, and I said, "Hey, do you want a coffee from here?" He's like, "Oh no, I don't want a coffee from there. I'm not racist, but Asians can't brew good coffee." Okay, sure. Conversation switch, where we're going to go in a different direction. I walk inside and get this.
Mm-hmm.
The coffee's made by a fucking machine.
It was probably the Asian that made the machine, though. He was probably thinking 3D chess, 3D, I'm not racist, but...
He's playing chess, not checkers, yeah.
Yeah.
So that was an interesting start to my day.
Mm-hmm.
That was around like 6 in the morning this morning, so...
It's pretty early. You wouldn't even be awake enough to like process that properly. Probably just sit there for a bit.
I was not awake. The first thing I said when I got in the car is like, "Hey, I hope you don't mind if I sleep." And then we just started talking.
He didn't even let you sleep.
He did not let me sleep.
That was the first red flag for me, to be honest. Like, you should have known you're in for a wild ride.
Yeah, fair enough. But like, to this guy's credit, who will hopefully never hears this, like that was the only red flag that we had the entire trip. And usually when I'm talking to like a much older white dude, I just assume there's gonna be a lot more red flags. I assume there's gonna be a lot of like, ooh, I got this one.
Yeah.
I was sitting down with an older white dude, and there was a couple of weird things like I don't know how to say to that, and we're like, yeah, to each its own, because I'm not gonna bite on. And then
just panning out bait, like, oh, is he gonna take it?
Yeah, I'm like,
yeah,
no, thank you. Speaking to my lapels, like on today's date. And then like this guy, and the worst part is that like I can tell it was a compliment. I'm just like, I don't know how to interact in those terms, because I mentioned that my partner's Filipino.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, "Oh, Filipino, good stock, hard workers."
Whoa.
Like,
maybe he just never got out of the cattle business,
I guess so. I was like, I don't know, man. Like, I understand that you're trying to give a compliment,
mm-hmm.
but fuck me. Like, what's my response?
Yeah.
So I went,
good stock.
Yeah,
I work her hard.
Yeah, that's why I picked her. That's for sure.
Yeah. That was the criteria.
You got to lift up the hoof first, see how
lift up the hoof, yeah. Looked her in the mouth,
Checking if all the teeth are there, yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
she's calved. Yeah.
You got to read up on the calves after.
Yeah, so I just don't know how to access or participate in conversation like that, because we build up patterns of
mm-hmm.
how we go back and forth in that pattern,
mm-hmm.
where we can even have an inane conversation will just flow. Cause
yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh no. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Just like that. But shit like that just stops me dead in my tracks. I'm like, okay, what response are you looking for, buddy?
Yeah. Yeah. What do you expect to happen next?
yeah, exactly. Sometimes you get very interesting responses when you respond with that one.
Yeah.
Hold on, I'm gonna adjust a touch here.
No habit.
I want to look you deep in your baby blues.
Oh, thank you.
Is that good?
I think it's pretty good.
Awesome.
I mean, you sound pretty good.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. No, it's good. Took us a little while to get this setup going. I was,
Oh, it looks great.
Yeah, I thought you were like prepared for this. Like you knew what type of setup I had. But yeah, I never shared that. So like, guess the joke's on me.
Yeah.
It's all good. But now we're here, same system, and this one will sound great.
It already does sound great.
Perfect.
We should probably cut to commercial right now.
Should we?
Yeah.
What are we advertising for this time?
NFTs.
NFTs? Oh, we're going to start NFT for the podcast? Oh, you know what we should do though? We should NFT each of our body parts. So it'd be like, hey, you know, I have Jaden's baby blues, or like, hey, I have Ward's beautiful hair. You know, we could do that. NFT our like bodies off that no one sees because we're not going to put any of our photos out. So we can have whatever we want. Actually, the only things that are canon to this podcast right now is that I have blue eyes and that you have nice hair. We can NFT whatever we want. we aren't locked down in what we're doing.
Yeah, we put all these NFTs together, and this actually looks like some sort of horse person. Don't worry about it, man.
Yeah.
You don't know my story.
Yeah. Good stock.
All this to say is, buy our NFTs.
Yeah. That's the ad. Do it.
Get it done.
Get her done.
Well, with that, welcome back to the Sierra Bravo podcast.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. You got two co-hosts here. You got Ward and you got Jaden. And this time we're live on location, except we're not live, but we are on location together. So this will be a very exciting podcast where we can properly see each other's facial expressions. And it should help the flow of the podcast. Not that it didn't have perfect flow before, but now even more perfect flow than ever before. Yeah, more perfect.
Completely agree, brother. So what are we starting with today?
I don't know. Why don't we, you mentioned something earlier about passion. Why don't we start with that?
Yeah, so I had a really good conversation with a friend of mine, and I was struck by his passion. And he wants to get into essentially being not a pro gamer, but into, like monetizing a Twitch stream.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think the money is the goal for him.
Mm-hmm.
The goal is that he likes doing this,
mm-hmm.
and he wants to take it to the next level. So I am not per se very interested in video games. I have like a passing interest,
mm-hmm.
but I could listen to this man talk about video games and, calibrating his mics, just like what you did earlier today for hours. And he's talking about, the different strategies that go into playing a game and like mechanical skills and map knowledge and, game sense and all this kind of jazz. And even though I don't want to pick that up for myself, the passion that he had for it was inspiring. And I was frankly a little bit jealous. And I was thinking about how I can, what are the things that I'm passionate about? Because sometimes you have a passion. And like when I thought about it, I have a passion already.
Yeah.
But it goes through phases. Sometimes you're just not quite as passionate about it. You're like, fuck, why am I doing this in the first place? And then sometimes you're like, this is fantastic.
Yeah.
So even education or fitness or skiing or cycling or whatever it is that I do, some days it feels like a chore and sometimes it feels fantastic,
Yeah, I went through a little, I found for a very long time, like I was always like test driving hobbies, like, even TV shows, and you mentioned with video games, like I am the king of starting a TV show, getting interested, and after 5 episodes, just like, meh, like very interesting. I like the story, but like if I find like one thing I do know about myself is I'm a huge fan of storytelling. So any type of video game that has really good storytelling, I'm very interested. But actually taking the time to go play it, I'll just stop with time. But I found that like something I recently picked up that stuck with me, and I want to kind of remember what this was like for a very long time, was I recently got into smoking meat last year, like with a smoker, and I love it. Not just meat. I've done apple pies in the smoker. It was amazing. Pizza's the missing piece. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Like a brick oven. That taste that you get when you're ordering from Domino's or something. Shout out to Domino's. Next sponsor. They it's that little bit of like smoky flavor that really changes the taste of the dough and everything. And I had no struggle, and I still have no, like I smoked some cheese a month ago. It was so good, but I have no struggle doing it. Like, sometimes, like if there's a couple things that I just don't struggle doing, it's from time to time I get busy and I can't make it to the gym, but I don't struggle with going to the gym as much as other people, which I think I'm very lucky that that's the case for me. And then with the smoking meat, like it's never I haven't used this in a while, I should find something. For me, it's like, I've used this way too much this month, I got to clean it. I hate cleaning this thing every month. It's like, it's almost, it's not too much, but there was absolutely no struggle, and there just is a passion. And I was able to also like, I did a pulled pork that it was actually like a mustard based sauce rather than say like a barbecue sauce or something. And to me, was very interesting, excited to try it, and I was just blown away by how easy it was to pick up. Because I think, you know, I look at a lot of people, and just like you mentioned, like they have so much passion for a hobby or a thing that they do, and it's like, oh, I wish I could find that. And the only way you're going to find is by trying lots of new things. So I never want to lose that. But like, I'm just so happy that I've had this experience, and it's been a long time since I started working out. So like, I felt like I lost just like having that passion. And I guess it's the same thing. Like when I met my wife, there's a lot of passion, and that's carried through the relationship. Now we're married. You know, I hope we're pretty passionate about each other. But, yeah, so I want to keep trying things, but I definitely get that. And you can listen to people talk about, like I talked about smoking meat for like a little bit, but I'd go for hours if I wanted to.
Please don't.
Well, I mean, if you want me to, I could.
But I don't, though.
But you don't. Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
fair enough.
But how about yourself? What you find any passions recently, or?
Yeah. But before I talk about that, I just wanted to highlight the fact that your, mysterious identity, Jaden, is even more intact, because I can't tell if you're 80 or 50.
Yeah.
Based on your smoked meat.
You can't tell how green my lawn is.
It's well cut, though.
Yeah. That's the one thing you do know. Well, you don't actually know whether or not I have a lawn, but
California crabgrass.
Yeah. No, that's pretty funny. Yeah, I was talking with my wife, and I make a joke about this all the time. Like some people are born to do things. Like I've been born to be a dad. Like I love socks and sandals. I don't actually like socks and sandals, but I was talking with her about like sometimes when we were overseas, like the thing that I think about most was like just a ride-a-mow, and how simple the world was when you're driving this ride-a-mow. You're going around your lawn, you're just like, yeah, I'm here, I'm drinking a beer, I'm just cutting grass.
Solving the world's problems.
Yeah, doesn't matter how long it takes, it's getting done.
Man and his mower.
Truly
free. I'm pretty sure, wasn't that Socrates who said, the unmowed life is not worth living? Huh. Very deep.
The unmowed life.
Is that not accurate?
I think it's pretty close.
Yeah.
I think that's what he meant.
I think he didn't know about what a mower was.
Yeah.
Then, I've updated it for today.
Yeah. If he ever like rode on one, he'd probably be hooked. He just never would have like dropped these knowledge bombs. He'd just be like riding his lawnmower all the time.
Lazy fuck. Passion. So I've found kind of the same thing, and weird enough, as I get older, I just like try new things, and some of them stick and some of them don't. But I find for me, exercise itself, I don't know if it's a passion anymore, but it's something that I just have to do. Like it's now a craving, and getting stronger or getting fitter is, it's a good benefit. But I find the two things that motivate me the most is like those endorphins I get when I exercise, and looking at myself in the mirror, because I'm a deep-seated narcissist.
Oh yeah, nothing like
100%.
vanity that
100%.
gets me up in the morning.
Yeah, so if I'm like well dressed before I go to the gym, and I'm wearing something that's revealing.
Ooh.
And then I can like find a little mirror spot to myself, I'm gonna have a great workout. But if there's no mirror, and I only have like sweatpants and baggy clothes, it's gonna be suboptimal.
I just really like when I'm not like they call them like dials. Do you even lifts? I'm not like that per se, but obviously I'm not the biggest guy in the gym. But I really like going to the gym, and you look around, you're like, huh, not so bad. I'm doing pretty good. And then you get a pump after you look in the mirror. I bet you my gym, like they're guaranteed they have the lighting set up properly in the washroom so that
you look extra cut.
Yeah. Because I got the down lighting and stuff, and it's like, yeah, this looks good. Take a little photo, send it to the wife. Like,
for
ooh,
sure they do.
Yeah,
I'm 100% convinced that at least most gyms, not the hotel gym, but they'll actually make I'm gonna get this wrong. They shape the mirror in such a way as it lengthens you and makes you look a little slimmer.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I don't know about. I was gonna say they should do that, but I don't know. I don't know about the lengthening. But giving you access to good lighting, though, I think, like, because you see, there's even people who do like photos of like before and afters, like the same day, like 5 minutes apart, 100% different.
Suck in your gut, bring your shoulders back, feel confident. Better lighting.
Even just like how you angle your clothes and how you like tilt forward a little bit or whatever it is you're up to.
Yeah, just like how you mindset.
Yeah.
So you mindset in a more confident and aggressive stance, you're going to look better, more attractive.
Yeah, I find aggressive people more attractive. I'm going to be honest.
Do you?
Maybe, I don't know.
I'll try and be more aggressive.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, yeah, perfect.
Yeah.
But they just have those hallmarks of being, confident, shoulders back, all
Yeah.
that kind of good jazz. But if you have somebody who's closed off, hunched shoulders, if they're not confident themselves, how can I be confident in you? And it's crazy, not just the mind setting, and I'm going to talk about that part of the conversation, but how these tiny things can make you look drastically different in the photo.
Well, I even in the past, I did in fact date other people before I got married, and I just like the conversation of like how I was noticed. It was like there was a time where I was definitely bigger, and how I was noticed wasn't like looks. It was mostly like attitude and how I could like confidently just provide my solution, sometimes arrogantly, but mostly confidently. And just like that's like it's like 9/10 of the law, confidence.
Yeah, seriously.
And going to the gym brings you that for sure. Like I feel if I don't make it to the gym for a week, I'll be a little closed off, or like I don't go do exercise on the weekend.
You're 100% right.
Yeah, and then you do it, and you show up to work, and you're like, all of you are smaller than me. Your ideas are dumb. My ideas are way better than yours.
You make it sound like you work in Jurassic Park or something. He's gonna eat your opponents. But yeah, so I mean, for me as a passion, going to the gym, maybe it's a passion. I don't know if I would call it that, but it is a quality of life thing. Like it just, the endorphins are up. It makes me feel better about myself. So I have to do it. I can't skip it.
Yeah.
Because as soon as I skip it for more than a couple of days, I'm like, ugh, small and soft.
Yeah.
And my head's just not right in the right place.
Yeah.
But second to that is cycling.
Oh.
Yeah, I got into cycling a couple of years ago, did like triathlons, working up for an Ironman right now. So not just the cycling itself is what I enjoy, even though I like going fast, but it is all of the small minutia that goes behind it, right? So maintaining the parts, understanding how the bike works, which parts can you switch out? What's the next thing you're gonna get? How are you gonna upgrade your entire system? How do you store it? How do you travel with it? All that kind of jazz. And there's so much in depth that I like diving into it. I just haven't done it recently because it's middle of winter, but
yeah,
I'm sure once summer starts up, especially now out in Alberta, it'll be very good, very good long bike rides. I do find the only problem with cycling in the prairies is the wind.
Yeah, I believe that.
Yeah, because it doesn't matter which way you're going, you're always going to get it one way, and it'll just suck the life out of you.
Yeah, the most cycling I've done is like mountain biking in the Edmonton River Valley, but yeah, some type of cardio. Always like again, different type of. I don't even know if it's a different type of endorphins, but I feel the endorphin stronger. Like when you can make it past, like I think everyone kind of has like a certain mile mark. I mean, if you're detrained so much like that you're struggling, you're just gonna struggle. But like when you can run like even 5 or 10K, like there's a mileage. I think most people once they push that, it's like the rest of the runs like
easy.
You're just in the zone and you're just running, and then you get to the end, you're like, oh,
that wasn't terrible.
Well, it wasn't terrible, but also I gotta stop now.
Yeah, 100%.
Sometimes you get to the end and you're ready to stop.
Yeah, I find a lot of endurance sports are almost like meditation, right? There's a lot of, your brain shuts off, and you kind of just focus on nothing. You feel a little bit better about it. But I find when you're really pushing yourself, like let's say you're doing a race, that does not happen. Like it sucks.
Yeah. The whole way through.
Yeah, the whole way through, because you're trying to get that little extra 5% or 2% that you really never put in there during practice. You never go practice 100%. You're always going 90, 95, so you don't get hurt. Yeah. And then the other hobby I picked up, I don't know if it's a passion just yet, is skiing. I used to ski a lot, and I'm getting back into it.
That's nice.
Because I do not want to be trapped inside during the winter.
Yeah.
So I want some excuse to go outside and enjoy winter things.
Yeah. I got a puppy for that, so they'll force you to get out.
Yeah, 100%.
But don't just go out and get a puppy if you can go skiing.
Thank you.
No, yeah. So do you those are like I think fairly low barrier to entry, but like how I'm not looking for dollar amount, but like are you like continuously putting money into it? Is it like an initial investment and then you go for a while and then like every 5 years you're upgrading? Like how does that work with those two activities?
Yeah, great question. I actually don't know. I've never really sat down and thought about, how am I gonna cost out how these activities are. But they are fairly expensive to get into. I find all of them are, right?
Yeah.
Even the ones I thought that'd be cheap, so like rock climbing.
Yeah.
When I used to do that a little bit, that's also expensive, right?
Yeah, it's like
There's so much gear.
$120-$150 just for shoes, and then
100%.
you know, your chalk and your bag, and
right, and that's just
that's just bouldering.
Yeah, you didn't even say a harness. Yeah,
No.
so that's like the basics.
Oh yeah, and the harness, yeah,
get on the wall
and the helmet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We haven't even talked about a rope. We haven't even talked about, quick draws or any sort of pro or any of that kind of jazz.
Your ACT.
Yeah, exactly.
ATC, sorry. Yeah.
Yep.
Air traffic controller.
Which the entire activity just explodes. But the bike I have now is around 2,400, and it is considered a low end bike.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is it's a great bike. I love it, but understanding the bike that I grew up on, which was Canadian Tire discount brand, which is not even in the running of bike cost. That's like an entry level. They don't even have a term for that in racing circles, right? So mine's very entry level. Mid level will be somewhere between 5 and 10, and then more advances.
Wow.
Bespoke.
Yeah.
10,000 plus.
I got just a hardtail Norco Storm. I think it cost me around $750 in 2016. It probably actually has gone up in value since I bought it because of the wild nature of bikes going up for sale.
Yeah.
But even that from Canadian Tire, just night and day. And then if I ever wanted to go to the mountains, I'd still have to like rent a full suspension mountain bike just to like save my behind and 100%. Survive.
Yeah, 100%. And even like Norco is a good brand, right?
Yeah.
But you'll find the one that is at Canadian Tire versus the one that's actually at a bike shop. There's small differences. So we'll have the same brand name and some of the same like chassis or parts, but the gears or the sprockets or the brakes or the actual squishy thing,
the pads,
shocks. All of this stuff can be just dialed up a little bit, and as soon as you start dialing that up, you just see a huge difference. Yeah, let alone just getting a better bike. Like the frame itself is just lighter, so aluminum frame with carbon fiber fork, or even a completely carbon fiber bike. I don't even know if they do that for mountain biking. Wouldn't make sense.
I think they managed to get some strong enough for that, but I think again pretty niche. And those have I believe those have a lifetime. Like
of course,
you wouldn't be able to aluminum. You could probably until it like bends, but like you're gonna probably have like I could see people having so much money and being so professional, they get a new frame every race carbon.
Yeah, so I did know a couple of people who were in the like provincial triathlon cycling kind of circles, and they had tons of bikes, and but they were also hooked up in such a way that not only did they have the ability to work on their own bikes, but they knew enough to know that they could not get it up to race levels, but they were very good friends with people who were like bike mechanics and could actually put this entire thing together, and they would recycle parts, and they would have this is my gravel bike, and this is my race one bike, and this is my tri bike, and this is they'll have $50,000 worth of bicycles. Yeah. Just to go out and play with. And one of the craziest ones I actually ever saw was they had a bike with an electronic gear shifting system. And I thought it was so bougie until I actually rode it. And it was just like usually when you switch gears, there's a little bit of and the better your bike is and the better your parts are, you get a little bit less of that. There's a little bit of that. And sometimes it's just gunk, you need to clean it. This, when you shifted, it was just smooth. Wow. Like so smooth. Yeah. But the entire system weighed, I want to say like 2 or 3 pounds compared to the half a pound that a normal wire system would have. So, yeah, definitely the trade-off. My brother bought a mountain bike from a guy who used to do, I think it was downhill mountain biking, and he had it was like the bike itself had like a custom frame that was only made for like this
Brazilian race that he did,
Mm-hmm.
type stuff. But it had even like oblong gears, so that on his downstroke it'd be a shorter length, so he'd get more power. And then, but if he was going full out, he could still benefit from having like a larger, like it, because it's not larger or smaller, it's oblong. So it
Better ratio.
yeah, but it would be a better ratio on the downstroke, and then a higher ratio, so that if he was really pedaling on like a flatter surface, he could still get a good ratio without having to change gears. So you would just have
cool.
one oblong in front, and it's just like there is still creativity in making bikes, and well, probably with most things, but you can like, it was just amazing. I just could not think of designing something like that.
Yeah.
And like, I'm a mechanical engineer, and just really cool seeing how people are trying to tackle all these problems.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the deeper you get into the kind of cycling community, and I'm only I barely dipped my toe into it.
Mhm.
I've been doing it for a couple of years. There's just so much more to it.
Yeah.
Right. So there's different ways that you wear your race kit, or even buying race kit, and how you do the pedals, and have a clipless system, and water bottles, and all this kind of jazz. And yeah, it's I can understand how quickly cycling can take over your life. And I don't know, if I end up in a city where there's a really big cycle culture, I'm definitely going to give it a shot. I haven't had that chance yet, but maybe it'll grow into, I'll become one of those dirtbags who shows up to work in this like super tight outfit, inappropriate, with my genitalia hanging out,
Oh my
essentially,
goodness.
and like one of these ridiculous, really short little caps that you can flip up. But
Yeah.
we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Well, you could. The nice thing about being really good at things, but not being in a city, is you're now the best in the whole area. So you could be the cycling guy for where you're living. Yeah. You know what? Something I just learned about. It was actually through our Mexico trip. I can't believe I'm struggling on his name. I'm having a brain fart. Probably not drinking enough water. But your best man, Colin. Yeah. He was wearing. It's called like. It's a type of leisure wear that's super friendly for bicycling. Do you know what I'm talking about? It's a specific type of clothing. This is gonna bother me now.
Athleisure?
No, it wasn't. It was like commuter clothing. That's what they called it. And it's like,
this is the Lululemon thing he was wearing.
Yeah. And it's like designed for like, you can cycle to work and not have to change.
Yeah.
And I mean, unless you get super stinky, I guess, but like, you can look really good, and it's not gonna like, it's not like, you can get skirts that you can wear while you're cycling just to work. And that was like, wow. If only I lived somewhere I could do that, because I need a vehicle for my current work. But it was just a, like, there's coming from like the country into the city, and like all the different ways you can live is very interesting. I'm probably going to go back. It was a nice trial. Jaden might not make it in the city, but I've really enjoyed it. And I think what I've done that some people haven't done is like tried to embrace it a little bit. So what is the best that Edmonton has to offer? I think the River Valley personally. So I really try to get into that. And then the restaurants, go to lots of restaurants, see what people are interested in, join all of that. Like try and embrace it, because there's some really cool stuff that I'm not going to have access to. And even like, let's say some very niche sport, like I could never rock climb in, Bruderheim, but I can rock climb in Edmonton, and there's lots of places to do it. And I was even considering trying to get into some type of jiu-jitsu or something like that in Edmonton. But I don't think it's just going to work. I'm just too busy. I can't pick up anything right now. So I'll just keep going to the gym, sleeping and working. Yeah, so just hearing about that, I was like, oh, that would have really helped while I was going to school and I was trying to cycle to school. Also, if there was one thing I would have changed, it would be definitely in Canada. If you can do it, try and take more summer classes and then bike to school the entire summer and just enjoy like what regular people get in university, instead of just being cold in Canada, like moving between buildings as you're trying to go to school. Like, honest to goodness, if I were to do it, like, it wouldn't really have worked for my program, I don't think. But if you're just taking some arts or science, like, consider how you can like take courses in the summer. And like, oh no, you can't take a week off to go with friends to do whatever. Well, sure, but you can just like enjoy you can go to the quad and play like spike ball or hacky sack or whatever, like real classic traditional uni stuff. But it's actually warm, and you can go out and do things and go fishing, maybe because there's a river by most universities, I think. I know there's one by mine. I think there's one by University of Manitoba. No.
You're right. I'm just thinking of other universities. So Manitoba, Carleton.
Well, they needed
U of W.
I think power plants was like one of the big reasons, because I think all of them used to have a power plant of some type to power themselves. So so you need access to water. Yeah, I'm spitballing, but like that's what I would consider, because everywhere I've gone now there is some river right near the university.
Fair enough.
Yeah, but like, what's your thoughts on that? Because like, there are so many things. It's not that I think I did anything wrong, but I think there's ways I could have optimized
university.
Yeah, and I think summer courses would have been one of them.
I don't know. I think everybody has their own journey. You know, some people they set themselves up and they have a great time. And they go into dorms and they thrive in that environment and they need something more communal. And some people have a really hard time and it takes them longer. But I think just going through the process, achieving it, understanding that you can do any of this stuff. The real barriers are essentially just cost and time. If you can overcome those, you're off to the races, right? So even if you don't have the financial means right away to afford going to university full time, you can just, mortgage the cost for time. Spread that out over 10 years, and it's going to suck. It's 100% going to suck, but you can still get it done. And I say all this because my undergrad time, I think it took me 8 years to get my undergrad, and I did not like it. I was not a huge fan. Yeah. But now I'm going back to take my master's, and I enjoy it so much more. I have a better appreciation for the program. I have a better appreciation for my fellow students and the prof and the reason why I'm going back. Yeah. And that has changed my mindset. So I think the idea of university as a finishing school, as like it changes kids to adults, I think there's a lot of merit in that. But I think that people need to suffer in their own way. And because you're going to grow and develop differently, because your suffering needs to be personal to you. It needs to be meaningful to you. Yeah.
I did actually want to talk about this. I wanted to try and make the case for even not going to university or college, and just like getting out in the workforce. Because something that I've had to deal with and consider, considering like working in Alberta, oil was down for a while. Now it's back up. We'll see what the long-term effects of that has. But the job market for engineers, not great, not terrible. I got employed, so there is that. But looking at some of my friends, some of my peers, very much struggling. And you can go into the trades. And I saw a lot of people who struggled through university, like majorly struggled. Everyone's program is different. Everyone's good at different things. But even just taking like an engineering technologist job, ticket, they're not having a great time with jobs right now either. But you would thrive more. You wouldn't necessarily you would definitely still be challenged. Like you're not just like stepping down so that you're not challenged and you can just coast through. There's still the challenge there. But I think that we might have put a huge push on kids going to college, university, and not entirely being sure what they want or what they're going in for. And also just forgetting that there are people who make really good money working as plumbers, as machinists, as millwrights, power engineers. There's no real, power engineers can be probably best correlated with like a process chemical engineer for like going to university and studying engineering. But there's nothing actually direct, and there is demand for power engineers, is what my brother's doing. And he went through a different type of program, not at university, still learned a lot about sensors and diagnostics and stuff like that. I can't speak on his field because I don't have same experience in his field that definitely he does or they do, but it's still very much viable. And yeah, just a thought that I had. I think what I did was best for me, but I see a lot of people who either struggle or aren't challenged enough, or just, if you do go into the trades, you can leave, and at least you're still getting paid while you're doing it, while you're apprenticing. There are tons of grants for people in the trades. So I think actually there was a way that if you got all the grants that you applied for in a very particular way, you didn't actually have to pay for any of your school. And the barrier of entry is just, can you get a job? And, that's going to be a struggle sometimes. If the job market is really bad and you have to pick between trying to get into an apprenticeship or going to school again, maybe the option is to go to school so that you're buying yourself some time, but still making yourself desirable in the workplace. But just open thought. Don't know what's right, don't know what's wrong, but just something I've been thinking about recently.
No, I like it. I just want to pull a couple things apart there. First, because I think this is going to be the easiest one, is that even the examples that you describe require some sort of post-secondary education.
Yes.
Yeah. So I think that, especially now that we're becoming a more, specialized workforce, there will be a requirement for post-secondary education. And I don't see that changing anytime soon.
Yeah, maybe I should clarify. I'm not against post-secondary, just that everyone going down the same type.
Yeah, and I guess it depends who you talk to, right? So there is an impression amongst some academia that university is a finishing school, and there's an impression among, some people who are, taxpayers or, in government or policy or whatever, that universities fill an actual a need within the industry, right? So we need to turn up the dials on teachers or turn down the dials on nurses or whatever the case is. 100% we have already seen where this has kind of gone off the rails, where there are certain provinces creating more teachers than that province actually needs, right? So now they're exporting teachers internationally, or worse, these people have just finished 5 years of a degree that doesn't lead to anything, which is unfortunate. 100%. I do think that having essentially a second safe place to figure out who you are and to make some mistakes and to say some things that are stupid, and you're gonna get not smacked around. You're gonna have a hard time depending on what you say and what clique you fall into, and you're gonna learn those lessons, right? You're gonna learn them the hard way. But it's a little bit of a safer space to learn those lessons than out in the real world. And I would not count university or even college as the real world. It's close. It's not high school, it's not middle school, but it's definitely not. There's a lot of things that happen there, and we intentionally provoke certain types of conversations and frictions with people. So we want people to explore themselves. They start these clubs and student government. Yeah. Okay.
Did you know the student governments, they make money?
I did not know that.
Allegedly.
I thought it was just like a per diem when they were doing stuff.
No, allegedly they have a sort of salary.
Yeah, so this is a place for them to figure it out. So let's say somebody actually wants to be a politician, which, I have my own thoughts on. A better place to start out instead of actually being a politician is to start in a student government, Understand how communication works, how policy planning works, how, stakeholders in any sort of problem need to be consulted and brought on board, and how difficult the process can be and how easy it is to, criticize government or big business or whatever, really complex systems, until you actually look inside these systems and you see, just in all honesty, what a mess it is.
And good ideas don't sell themselves. You can't just here's my idea and just expect everyone to get it.
No, you got to shepherd those things along like lamb chop, you got to make sure it stays away from slaughter. And then the third thing I want to pull apart was struggle. So I think it's very easy for us to think of struggle as something that you're just actively up against. And you mentioned some people find university very easy. And I know I was in that camp, and that presented its own struggle to me, right? Because I was not focused, I was not challenged, whatever the case is. I did not apply myself in classes. And that is part of the reason why my degree took so long, right? So the struggle is forcing yourself to be present and to apply yourself. So even though it may not seem like, wow, I'm just not getting this, quadratic equation or whatever the case is, the complete inverse of that is also its own problem, right? Building those patterns up within yourself, not only, finding something that you're interested in, but making sure that you do the things that you're not interested in to get to that goal.
Yeah.
And I think university is an important place for that to happen.
Yeah, not just ones and zeros, a lot more dials that you're turning up and down.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
for sure.
So even though you're taking this class, you should not. Well, you're gonna fuck it off one time, and then when you see what it does to your GPA and what it does to the amount of time you need to spend in school, you're not gonna do that again.
Yeah, no, that definitely happened to me. I advise everyone don't do what I did.
Yeah.
in university.
Or do it, right? Like,
Yeah,
that's how you learn.
yeah,
It doesn't matter who tells you what. Some things you just gotta learn by doing. You gotta suffer through it.
oh yeah, for
And
sure.
Yeah. So then I guess to pivot a little bit, I'm finding more and more of my interactions nowadays are caveated by the fact that this is just where this person is in their life.
Mm-hmm.
Good or bad, but this person, the sliver that I'm seeing of this person is not necessarily indicative of who they are.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just seeing maybe they're on a good day, maybe they're on a bad day, maybe they're just a junior in the organization and they have the telltale signs of being junior.
Yeah.
Being very keen,
Yeah,
thinking that they have the right answer,
Yeah.
not shutting the fuck up when required.
yeah,
And these are just things that we expect of people. And then they eventually grow out of it. And, as somebody who's more senior or more experienced, you can smooth the path or you can smash them earlier so they learn how to get back in the box or whatever the case is. But there's a maturation process
yeah,
in a whole bunch of different ways, not just going through university, becoming an adult and buying a house and starting a family, but even in a business or a relationship, you go through different phases of all these things. And no phase is wrong. They're all a natural process, but some of them suck more. Some of them,
yeah, yeah. And I found I don't have to deal, like, I am the young person in my organization with all these ideas trying to change everything.
Yeah.
I think through some of the stuff that we've been through, I've learned when to not say anything. I still struggle with, I'm very honest, which is something I don't want to get rid of. But there have been times where, like, I'll be way too honest about something, and then it would have been better if I just been like, I don't know, or like, maybe you should talk to my boss about this.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. So, and not just with new people though. Like, I'm really starting to see how understanding where someone came from, their life story, is like very key to understanding why they're making certain decisions. Like, I could be frustrated with the person, but also just like, oh, you have no training or experience in this very niche thing that I happen to have training experience in. But what you have that I don't is years in time.
Yeah.
And years don't equate to experience. But like, okay, now that I got all this, and the biggest one is like retirement. No one wants to rock the boat right before they retire. And when you're into most of your workforce is within that last 5 to 10 years, you're not going to see a lot of change. They're coasting out, and they sometimes, this isn't everyone, but I have been directly told I'm not going to learn this because I'm leaving soon. And that breaks my heart because it's just like, what you're done is you've offloaded it onto me now. You've said, I don't want to learn how to be better, so I'm going to offload all of these mistakes I'm going to make on others and retire.
Yeah, I love that point because it makes me want to pivot to something else, which is bureaucracies themselves, how they, no, we've been over this ground before.
Have we?
Yeah, we have.
Let's do a refresher then.
Yeah, essentially the thought process is that bureaucracies are intentionally difficult to change, and that is a risk avoidance measure. Because if any good idea is good enough, it'll last long enough that it'll force change. And maybe it'll be too late, but it's better to be too late than to make a drastically bad decision.
Yeah.
Right? And especially when you talk about governments, it's more important for governments to make fewer right decisions than accept any sort of risk. Or at least that's what the thought process is. And, there's some merits to that, but unfortunately, I think there are definitely some governmental branches where risk needs to be accepted so that they can actually maintain, current with the world. And we need to understand that at all levels, there will be difficulties, right? So the Fort McMurray wildfire, by and large, was a highly successful successful emergency measures operation, right? Only 2 people passed away, unfortunately, and it was tangential to the fire itself. It was during the evacuation they got into a car accident. So this is, by and large, very good. But they had some huge hiccups with communication, and they didn't make the call early enough, and blah, 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 blah. And I think it's naive to expect that that's not going to happen in the future, right? To argue that if we just practice more, we're not going to be spinning. No, we will spin. The thing that we need to do is make sure that we can come out of that spin where you're in the black, and that's just a term saying like you're lost. Your heart rate's so high that you can't focus on anything. Understanding that, holy smokes, this is a new problem that we didn't expect at this magnitude. Breathe. 1, 2. What's the next step? Because there will always be friction, right?
Yeah.
And if you expect that there's not going to be, I am concerned that you're going to miss the most important lesson, right? You're going to be so rigid in your response to something that we as an organization may lock in and not be able to recalibrate ourselves to a better solution possibly, right? Yeah, and that ability to adapt is super important.
Yeah. And I with the bureaucracy comments, like I have seen, and now I try to watch for in myself and others, like all the time, like, why doesn't the company do this? You know, why doesn't this happen? Two answers. Well, why don't you do something about it? And then that one, no one ever does anything. They hate, they don't like that. Like, I'm constantly like trying to own the problems that I come up to. I try to pick the ones that make sense and that I'm capable of solving. But, ideally, if I'm going to bring up a problem, be prepared to have to solve it yourself. And that's something that I have had to do. But also realizing, hey, we are a very niche part of this organization. Even though I do work in like a operations type facility, some of the problems that we have is just, sorry, not sorry. What you've come to me with is just not important to the operation. It's important to you and what you think you need to do. But I have to, like, priority wise, and just understanding that here's where I am on the totem pole, and that's neither good nor bad. But your problems also, like, if you have a problem at this level of the totem pole, you could probably assume everyone at that totem pole has the same problem, and so you should all work together to try and solve it. But you are only seeing a portion of the problem, and it can be a lot bigger, and sometimes it's just suck it up, and I constantly see that where it's like, hey, we need this thing's fixed. Okay, so you want me to solve it. Well, why don't you solve it? You have the means to contact the right people. Priority of work. This isn't even on my radar. Yeah. If it takes me 2 seconds, it helps me build some rapport. I will pick up the phone and make a call, and have done in the past. But like, I've made the active decision of this is to build rapport. Yeah. It's not actually in the good use of my time. It's for the long term, but it's not actually like what the company needs.
I like that. What I want to pick up from what you were saying is we have throughout, and like some organizations do it better, but I think it's mostly a mass media thing. We have terrible communication. Like, we do not explain, thought processes logically. Yeah. Right. And part of this is difficult because when you are communicating through a lot of different media, a message that's even slightly different can be reinterpreted to be drastically different. Now people are confused. Well, he said this. Well, she said that. Like, I don't know what you're trying to do. But one thing that always grinds my gears is every time I'm watching a TV show or a movie or something, it's like, hey, if you just sat down with this person for 30 seconds, 5 minutes, you would explain what the problem is. Yeah. Potentially have them on board, but if not, they have agency. You can't force them to do it. But you have the potential of avoiding so much pain. Then again, like, we wouldn't have a lot of these movies if people just, explain themselves a little better. Yeah. But I'm finding now, in at least the media that I'm consuming, people are way better at communicating. Holy smokes. Like, they take the time to to actually like, hey, I feel this way about this thing, and I'm trying to do this for all of us. I am confused by the thing that you're doing. I'm like, oh, that's awfully grown up of you.
Yeah, yeah.
What's going on?
Yeah, just, I watched, I want to, I'm not, this isn't political. I just saw in the House, there was an MP from the majority, sorry, actually minority government, and there was an MP from the opposition.
Yeah.
So the opposition would stand up. I'm not using names on purpose because I'm not going there. But the opposition leader would stand up and ask, how much have house prices increased since your current government took office? And the response was, we've increased the number of jobs in Canada by 14%. Blah 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 blah.
Yeah,
blah.
100%.
And then they go back. Okay, well, the price of the houses that these people that you've now got jobs, how much are they paying for houses? And they're like, well, we had a bit of a downturn because of the economy, but now we're back. It's just talking point, just, and I think I can't give the opposition like the full credit because I don't, I think they know that they're playing a game. But I mean, I thought that that's like a pretty reasonable question. Obviously, you're asking the question to try and show that house prices are going up, current government's not doing anything about it. But I mean, if you could at least allow for a little bit of, genuinity, I don't know if that's a word, but if you just allow for a genuine response, or even just like, this information is readily accessible. Give me a minute. I'm going to pull it up and then we'll have a talk about it. And we can try and figure out why. And just more effects. If we had like an effects driven government, holy smokes, would that be huge? And I think that's a pipe dream, but I just saw that. And I think that conversation takes place like in politics, not just in, our government buildings, but outside and on social media and stuff. And there are I think podcasts are a lot more popular, longer form. You can understand someone, you can really see the nuance. And then whenever someone does something, sensational or says something terrible, it's just chopped and then put on the news and you see a little piece. And then when you go and listen to it, you're like, oh, this guy isn't a monster. And it both sides of the fence and just, broke my heart a little bit.
Yeah, man, I feel you. And the way our government as well as our legal system is designed is to be antagonistic. It's like two things working against each other.
Yeah.
And there probably is a system of government which is not inherently antagonistic. Ooh, maybe that's some sort of, monarchy or strongman or whatever the case is.
I wouldn't push for that, but
yeah. But it is, it's disheartening to see these talking points get thrown back and forth. And I like the fact that you brought up podcasts or just like long form discussion that is way more easily available now. But I do wish that, politicians were working together.
I bet you, just following my own mantra there, providing a solution when I bring up the problem. I think if we gave the Speaker of the House a little bit more power to you should answer the question or something. Sometimes that does work, sometimes that doesn't. It probably would just end up partisan anyways. But if just the setup was to actually solve answer the question, I don't know.
I think the problem, or not the problem, the genesis of this reaction
of the problem
is us, the consumer.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's, you know what? If this person says the wrong speaking point, that's what we're going to hear. And they are so nervous because first and foremost,
because the bite, and that's what's going to be put out.
What do governments want to do? They want to stay in power.
Yeah.
Next, they want to do the things they said to stay in power.
Yeah.
To stay in power.
Yeah.
Right. So they feel like it's more important to walk this line and only admit wrongdoing when you are forced to.
Yeah.
Right. Only when you're brought to the mat and the evidence
even then,
is insurmountable.
Even then.
Well, it was a different time. It's like, oh my God, come on, man.
Yeah.
Do better.
Yeah.
So I don't know for, us, the voter, how we can change our mindset to better suit that. Because on one side, I'm advocating that we have a more flexible idea towards our own politics because Canadians are notoriously inflexible. This riding has been conservative for the past 60 years and it's a shoo-in. It doesn't matter what name is in there, they're going to get elected.
I've seriously considered, and maybe it's a good thing because this will probably, if I ever went into politics, it would bite me in the butt, but I've seriously considered just running for the pension. Like just keep living where I am. Just schmooze the local, conservatives or whoever.
Yeah.
Like it's going to be no surprise that the Conservative Party like reigns true in God's country, Alberta. But like
Amen.
that's all you got to do. If you schmoozed your way in and you got to the level, I think even just your first 4 years, you get a pension, and then it's like.
I thought it was 2 terms.
Was it 2 terms you got to get it?
It's like 6 or 8 years. But yeah, sure.
Well, just stay in. Just stay in. Say the right things.
100% pension. Yeah.
Retire after 6 years. Because I thought it was you get like a mini one after 4 and then another 2.
I don't know. Well, I'd have to check.
But the fact that this is a legitimate get rich quick scheme, that is like obviously they like to elect older people. But if you were just good at talking, you could somehow schmooze and like really play the political game, and you got in. 4, 8 years, 6 years. That's all you need.
I love it.
And then you just do whatever you want.
I'm totally down to scam, but I want to finish.
We should run. We should run. No. We should run against each other. That way, when one of us gets it, we'll just have a pact, and we'll just split the money in the end.
We probably shouldn't record that.
Oh shoot! Now we can't do politics. Oh no. Sorry.
Oh, this is Gordon Whedon. Completely different people. But to wrap up my point was. Like, I feel just talking it through, sounding it out while I'm talking to you is that, like, yeah, we need to be more flexible when we think about our politicians. We need to be ready or more willing to bounce to the other side or to just listen to somebody who's actually making sense. But on the flip side, how many mistakes are we willing to tolerate?
Yeah.
Where do you draw the line? Because there is no line. You have to make it for yourself. It's like, oh, this politician has done X, Y, and Z, and these things are important to me, therefore I change my mind. Or I like the way this guy looks. Like, it's such a nebulous, subjective metric when you're actually looking at these politicians and listening to them that, I don't know. We're damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Do I care about his personal life? Do I not?
Yeah.
Do I want him to run on his personal life?
Right.
Like, is a last name important to me? Is it not?
Yeah.
Like
is the diversity of the candidate important?
Yeah.
Can they speak French? All this kind of jazz.
I think for the longest time, we didn't care about the home stuff. We cared about the diversity. Whoever was running had to be able to speak both languages. Doesn't ring true for just like a local MP in Alberta though. But but like if you're going to run the party, you got to be able to do it.
100%.
And I think we might have seen, quite a bit of like Americanization of like Canadian politics recently because I think we do care a lot more about what people are doing on their downtime, like our politicians, and are willing to hold that against them just a little bit, not a lot. Like I don't think we're the same because, like, for example, Hunter Biden was in the news in the States. I don't know, like
which one is that one?
Joe Biden's son.
Gotcha.
Yeah, he was in the news in the States. He just made the news, and I think when our current Prime Minister Justin Trudeau was in the running, I don't think his family was ever brought up at all,
and not at the same level.
And I don't think they should be, personally.
Yo,
unless there's something crazy that happened, like
right?
like if she happened to be an oil tycoon that has been like grooming Trudeau to be this leader, and then like pumping all the money, and then like, hey. Yeah. You should really push for XL, and like all there's all these like conflicts of interest. But if there's no conflict of interest, like not a story, don't want to hear about it.
Yeah,
give them some privacy.
I can see it both ways, and unfortunately, I don't have a slick answer for you. I guess this is a very bad podcast because we don't have perfect solutions. But on one side, I think especially when you're in a position of power like that, the total person matters, right? And the things, if you are not accountable in your personal life, and there are certain things that fundamentally don't matter. You like to do weird kinky shit on your free time, fill your boots. On the flip side, I would argue that infidelity is a tipping point for me.
Yeah.
Did you cheat on your wife? Yeah, okay, like shit happens. You guys openly talked about it and you've gone through it. Like, that's kind of not my business. Are you consistently going behind your partner's back that you swore your life to?
Yeah.
And
the only reason she's staying with you is for
or because she
monetary, children, or can't.
Whatever it is.
Yeah.
How can I trust that this, which for most people, maybe even all people, is the most important pact you will ever make in your life, is the longest pact you'll ever make in your life.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so maybe some military members and some politicians or whatever, lawyers maybe have longer ones. But if you are gonna fuck that off,
Yeah.
how can I trust that you're gonna do these things, right?
Yeah.
If you are going to, grease palms on the side, that is, tangentially related to what your job is.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a certain level where you can't devolve the two. But on the flip side, people have a right to privacy, like
Mm-hmm.
an actual charter right to privacy. And the balance there is something that I don't know. I think we do it well in Canada,
Mm-hmm.
but that might just be because I live here. I think that the States, it seems sensationalized that we care about these people's children. Like, I truly, Joe Biden's son did drugs. Yeah. Does that matter? Like, kids will be kids. Like, he's having a hard time. Let him be.
Mm-hmm.
Let him live his life. What's a more important story is, was Joe Biden a good father to him?
I'm not gonna get. I've seen some crazy stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
We should put a mark here to delete all that.
Yeah. Oh no, I'm sure it'll be fine. You mentioned this, like, oh, we don't have any solutions. Well, I mean, at least this is a pretty genuine podcast.
Yeah.
We could just double down. That wouldn't be very much fun.
Yeah, 100%. Vote for whoever the fuck you
Vote for Jaden Ward.
Wade and Jade.
Yeah. Wade and Jord.
Thank you, brother.
Yeah. No worries.
Yeah, I don't know. I think we are, us as the consumer of all this information, and like the voter, are part of the issue, because we've shortcutted the brain so that we already know the science of like how to make you react to things. And the way that we can shortcut the brain, and we've seen it, very recently with like the Facebook disclosure and the whistleblower that came out, and understanding that these corporations and everybody knows how to shortcut the brain.
Mm-hmm.
Shortcutting the brain does not make for really in-depth and interesting conversation, and it also doesn't make for cogent choices being made.
Mm-hmm.
What it does make for is sound clips and sound bites that attack emotion rather than logic, and it tries to sway you in ways that you're not ready to be swayed.
Mm-hmm.
Like when somebody's reading an article, are they saying, I'm looking to be angry? No, they're already angry because they saw a headline.
Yeah, the headline that made them click on it.
100%.
Yeah.
And and now they're not being swayed by the content; they're being swayed by the emotions that are being dragged out of them.
Mm-hmm.
Which is unfortunate. But we're humans, and like that is our physiology, and we have now shortcutted. And you can take a course from wherever to learn how to shortcut people's psychology en masse or as an individual. How to Win Friends and Influence People is a book that's like 100 years old. We have already shortcutted this, and I don't know, now that you've opened Pandora's box, can you ever fucking put it back in?
Not without a dictatorship.
Wade and Jade.
Yeah, 20 some time.
Yeah,
definitely within it. Yeah, and beyond. Yeah.
But about scams. So instead of just getting that pension for life, which is good,
Mm-hmm.
become a senator.
Become a senator?
Hell yeah.
What
do they do?
Nothing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What do they get paid?
Do they get a pension?
Oh, buddy. Not only do they get a pension, they're appointed for life. And they get paid like, I don't know, like 200,000, 6 figures, solid 6 figures.
It's a lot of money.
Some of these motherfuckers have not been they are out of Canada more than they're in Canada.
Yeah. How
dare.
I don't know. I do the same thing. If I can't hold myself, to that level, like, why should I hold them? No, that.
So we're already going to be great senators.
Oh yeah, yeah. We'll just find like the worst attendance guy, and we'll just beat him by one. Just so we're not the worst. No, that would be interesting. Like if the senators did things, and then
yeah, man.
But we can't have them appointed for life.
Okay. I don't know. I never thought of it like that. I thought that, if I was, God for a day and I could change one thing about our government, I would just make the Senate more powerful. Like they can actually just go back and say, this is stupid. And I would give the, Governor General actual precedent to say, hey, I'm not signing this.
Mm-hmm.
So there's actually more checks and balances. So maybe we need to tweak the way that we find senators and governor generals and shit like that. But
yeah. I'm actually surprisingly on board with that. It's just the selection process can't be selected by the government that is in power. You can't have them selected by them.
No.
Yeah.
But we do need, because right now it's functionally, the longer you're in power, the more power you have, because you are selecting more and more people that are, in the same mindset as you.
Yeah.
Probably from the same political leanings as you.
Yeah. Same cloth.
Yeah. Cotton poly blend. That are just going to agree with you, right?
Yeah.
So it's like a recursive loop. You've been in power for 30 years, you lose it for 5 or for 4. Doesn't matter, because you've already set the stones in place that everybody thinks, breathes, looks in a certain way. You know?
With that, I want to talk about one more thing, then we'll do the ad to close out.
Yeah.
Let's think of what that ad's going to be.
Yeah.
But I wanted to talk or just like mention how important momentum is, like in your life. Just, I mean, I think a lot of people can like start in the gym, like, they're in the gym, they don't see much result, and they start seeing a little bit of result, and they start seeing a lot of result. And they're like, oh man, I'm really good. And then it's easy to go to the gym because it's like, the gym got me here. Look where it's going to take me. I really like this. And
you get that instant pump.
Yeah. And then there's even just with that, with anything, career, if you're a guy in that age group and you're on the market, girls, just even something as simple as like talking to more girls, you will find it easier to talk to more girls, and then, get to the next level where they're interested in you, and everything, like
the next level,
this is
super inappropriate
PG-13 podcast. Word careful. You've already cussed, like we went straight to A, but yeah, and just how you don't need to know that exists or doesn't, but just realizing that, when your momentum is also slowed down, that can have like very long-term negative effects. But if you are in like, because from time to time I've been in like tough spots, even after like being quite successful in various different things. And just momentum's important.
I love it. I completely agree with you. Yeah. I think a lot of the things, at least myself, speak from my own lived experience.
Yeah. Careful.
Is patterns.
Yeah.
Recursive patterns are super important to me, right? So even small things, eating consistent amounts through the day for weeks, going to the gym, sleeping well, having positive interactions with people. All these things just like, they make me a happier person. They make me a better person to be around. They make me want to be a better person. You know? And fostering these things, even though sometimes they're difficult, it pays these like wild dividends.
Yeah, and it gets easier with the momentum. Yes. Like the if you have the same, like, just riffing off that same breakfast every day, it gets easier to make that breakfast because you've just been doing it. Now you're programmed. You've got the momentum to keep, and then it keeps you going throughout the day.
Yeah,
like it's very hard to recover from a bad day if it's just right from the start. like if you have a bad sleep, like to gain the inertia that you need and the momentum to really close out the day strong, like something wild better be happening and you solve a really good problem sometime in the day. Otherwise, it's probably going to be a very sleepy day.
I also find, at least for myself, maybe you do this, is that sometimes you just like take a beat and think about how far you've come.
Yeah.
And I find that is one of my favorite conversations with my partner is like, hey, let's just talk about, since we met each other, look at all the crazy stuff that we've done.
Yeah.
Look at how proud we are of ourselves, and just like, self-licking,
ice cream cone.
We're sucking our own dicks out here. Well, this is PG-18. Oh, I'm sorry.
PG-18. Must watch with your parents.
Just giving each other high fives all the time. And so, like, maybe it seems a little silly just to, like, just be your own champion and have that awesome conversation. You're like, wow, we did really good. Yeah. And even the stuff that may seem small. It's like, hey, every day this month, we did not spend money on whatever, or I haven't smoked any cigarettes in this number of days. Like, hey, that's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Keep it going, and just and sometimes making sure that you remember the fact that these things are impressive and that momentum is real. Because sometimes when you're only looking forwards, you don't realize how far you've come, right?
Yeah, I remember up until maybe a year ago, I used to think I was like pretty lazy.
What?
Yeah, well, just because there was always more time, but it wasn't until I started getting like sleep issues and stuff where I was like, oh, I am doing a lot. And actually, just recently, I found out I do not have sleep apnea. So the only reason I'm tired all the time is because I'm working too much.
Yeah.
But just like, it wasn't that it wasn't even like those, what's that like genre of like content where it's like wake up in the day, 2,000 push-ups, like motivation, stuff. It wasn't, that never made me feel lazy. It was just like, oh, look at all these people doing these cool things. And like, man, I sure wish I was doing something cool.
Like the Instagram effect.
Nah, kind of. I would just meet people who are doing like very different things. Like, man, that'd be cool. I wish I could do that, but I just can't seem to find the time. It's like, oh yeah, because I got my own things that are cool that I like, and I'm unwilling to give certain things up. So, and then you just look back, you're like, oh, I have done lots of stuff.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
And I don't even know if this is appropriate. I find something that I am bad at, and you are also bad at,
Ooh.
is we don't self-promote, right? Like when we start a conversation, it's like, oh yeah, I've been doing this. No, usually if we start a conversation or open a conversation with that, it's to elicit more conversation. It's not to like dick measure out of the gate. It's like, oh, you've only been doing that? Well, I've been actually doing this. Yeah. I've done that twice this morning. And some people do that, and whatever, more power to them. Live your best life. And sometimes I feel a little bit jealous, like, wow, you're doing all this stuff.
Yeah, that's exactly
it. And then, you pick it apart, not pick it apart. You ask inquisitive questions, and you realize, like, this is over the span of 3 years or whatever the case. It's like, actually, you're just a normal human being, and you're not some sort of god Adonis that just works 24/7, has a perfect life and a perfect wife and all this kind of jazz. You're just a normal dude.
Yeah, I do want to get better at that. The only no one manage your career except for you, except for maybe you. But like you got to manage your career, you got to promote, and I take a lot of, this is going to sound really funny, I take a lot of pride in being humble. What I mean by that is,
man, same here.
I want to hear about others. I make a conscious effort when I meet new people to not talk about my job or past jobs. I want to just like, and I've played the game before, and then they realize they're playing the game of like, how long can we make it without bringing up what we do for work and like 100%. What else defines you? But sometimes like I'll be in a meeting and maybe I should toot the horn a little bit so that people know that I do this stuff, and that hey, if something comes up in this realm, I can come talk to this person about it. Mm-hmm. Or the biggest one is I love being accessible to talk about fitness. Someone wants to talk to me about getting into some type of fit activity. Like, man, all the time for you. I'll meet up with you on the weekend. Mm-hmm. We'll figure something out. I will help you get a program going if you want. Like, don't email me and ask me for a program. But like, if you're someone who exists in the real world, not online, I'm very interested, and I want to talk about it. I want to see results. I want to hear what you're up to. I want to hear what you're eting, and I want to learn from you too, because you're going to do something different than I did. It's like, tell me about it. I get so excited. And but anyways, with that, unless you got one last thing, I think we should go for a last ad.
Okay, take it away.
All right. Have you found yourself unmotivated? Do you have troubles getting up in the morning?
Yeah, sometimes I do.
Well, I have the solution for you.
Really?
Motivation coffee.
Oh.
Only brewed by Asian baristas. We send the Asian barista right to your door. They will be on time. You better make sure your door is locked, because Asians are always on time.
Always on time.
And they'll get you the coffee you need. Not what you deserve, but what you need to be motivated.
I think that was a great way to end this.
I think so too. All right, take care, buddy.
See you, brother.
Bye-bye.